All right, Izzy, let's take a look at your paper. MLA citation first. Everything is good here. Everything is good here. Now, creative, yes. Um, Tone-wise, with what you're trying to say, maybe not so much. So be careful of that. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that. What I am a huge fan, though, is your introduction. You do a really good job with your introduction. You have a nice little bit to talk about remedies. You transition into the story nicely. You need to, for the characters in Shakespeare's play Macbeth, however, so as soon as you mention the play, you got to mention the author as well. But you talk about, what it induces. So here's your topic. Here are your main points, which are all good and laid out. I like your thesis statement, although I'm going to come back to this a little bit later as far as making sure that it's on the right track with what you're trying to prove. You definitely, at least in the first body paragraph, do talk about the mental integrity and inclination towards violence. But what is it ultimately leading towards? We'll see if your paper actually, your body actually digs a little deeper than just that. But we'll get there. But I really like your introductions. It got a nice flow to it. It works really well. All right, so with your first body paragraph, you have a nice little setup before you get into what will be your topic sentence here that can lead to excessive violence. All right, so you do a good job of setting up your case here. This is a punctuation here. You have two complete sentences on either side of here. So you need a semicolon here with however in the middle. It's used correctly up here when you use however in the middle, wherever it is. Anyways, but down here you need to put a semicolon in there because you have two complete sentences there. So really you do a good job of not dwelling too much on specific details. You talk about his mind begins to suffer from the inner battle, which is good. It's driven by inherently good values when he weighs the consequences of killing Duncan. Now, here's where I would like to see you. You use this part from that soliloquy. I would love to see you use another embedded quote here from that soliloquy talking about the pros and cons to this whole thing. But I get that it's constantly eclipsed. I would like that word choice by Macbeth's faulty ambition. Therefore leading to the deaths of innumerable adversaries. Okay, now this is where I'm going to go back to your thesis statement as I talk about this next section. This is where I feel like all of this now should really be diving into deep analysis of what's going on. And while you do have certain bits and pieces here, essentially all you're saying is what the thesis statement says, that he has mental problems and it makes him cruel and makes people suffer in the end. So here's your mental instability. All of these things deteriorate his mind. It leaves him susceptible to an endless cycle of bloodshed that only ends after he meets his demise, which is kind of almost plot. So while you're using some good word choice, some creative use of examples, I don't know if you've really got into the analysis part yet, Izzy. I really feel like there's some deeper things that we can look at in here. I know I used the word things, really bad word choice there. There's some deeper themes that we can look in here other than just it leaves him, his mental integrity, inclination towards violence during periods of suffering. Is it maybe this part that we haven't dove deep enough into? Because he's suffering, this is what's going on. And maybe as I look at Lady Macbeth, maybe there's a theme that's going to stick out of here, but I really think there needs to be something there. I almost think this is a wasted embedded quote. I don't think you need to use horrid deeds, really. I mean, I know that's part of it, but I don't know. I just don't think you can use this as a different word and call it good. All right, so you start off with your topic sentence, which is fine. It's okay. I think it maybe could be a little bit more specific. So it switches. She loses her grasp. She's tormented by the damp spot she cannot remove. Really good use of embedded quote there. So her subconscious projects the blood that covered her hands after the original murders of Duncan. How deeply heinous acts can tarnish the soul. Now, not bad. I like the idea of tarnishing the soul and ultimately dooming them. and I almost go back to Macbeth a little bit, and maybe not. Do we need to dive into Act 2, Scene 2, where he just is nuts with remorse for what he's done? And I get the daggers, seeing Banquo's body, etc. But is there something in there that we can kind of call and use? I don't know. Anyways, this is a much better, though. I think Lady Macbeth's paragraph here is much better about mean. She says, lights on the dire consequences that participating in exile can have on the human psyche, which is kind of a repeat of what you're saying. But I like this part of the analysis. Just as a minor injury can turn into a festering wound if not taken seriously, ignoring the immoral consequences of the murder corrodes the Lady Macbeth's soul to the point where suicide is the only option in order to end her suffering. I really like that statement. I think it's really good analysis. But again, it's one really good statement where I feel like there should be more in here. Although I would agree that this is a much better paragraph than the previous one. I'd love to have, here is your transitional statement. I'd love to have that up here. I know it's not wrong to put it here, but that is strictly a Mr. Brasher thing that he likes. So wouldn't mind it up there, because when you put it here, I don't think Macduff adopts a more outward response when he chooses to take revenge on Macbeth. I think you can really have a better topic sentence than that. I don't think that's a strong topic sentence, which I think is your only real topic sentence here. All right. So with a better topic sentence, we then get into Macduff. I like the idea of the impressionable condition. I like that with Macduff and what Malcolm does to him. Macduff's eager acceptance of retaliating shows how he turns to violence while suffering. Now, you make an interesting statement that this is someone we can relate to more because of how he reacts. But I almost think this works against you, because this really doesn't fit too well in with your thesis. Lack of mental integrity. Does that fit as well with Macduff? And now this part definitely we could talk about during periods of suffering. And I think that's what you really need to highlight with Macduff. The idea that, and there's even a line in Act 4, Scene 3, where he says basically, let me dispute this like a man. Like, he's trying to come to grips with what's going on. And then Malcolm takes advantage of him. And even when he's trying to look for Macbeth, he says something about finding him before anyone else does, or his family will haunt him. I mean, that could really play into the whole mental state as well. And I don't think you really touch on that well. I don't think there's really much analysis in this paragraph at all. Much mean to look over. Macduff's strategy is one that the majority of readers can relate to: the loss of a loved one and the inner turmoil that ensues. This is kind of just plot. Can leave the mind susceptible to evil and violence. Yes, but it's kind of justified, and it's kind of for a reason, and it kind of makes the story end the way that it should, as far as him getting rid of somebody that hurt his family. I mean, yes, I understand he does some violent acts, and that's where I think you're really suffering with this body paragraph, is not tied well into that thesis statement. So I really think that third body paragraph is going to need some work. All right, so you get the restate of the thesis statement. You don't need a comma here. You go through your main points, which is fine. Violence clearly serves as the predominant solution to all forms of tribulation. However, considering the devastating amount of sorrow and death that culminated from these acts, was violence really the best remedy for suffering? All right, so I know you're going back. You're trying to bookend it, but it's such a weak question, Izzy. I really don't think it adds anything to the paper. It's almost like asking, should you steal this pop? Well, no, I shouldn't. Like, obviously the answer is no, but you're posing it like a big aha moment of clarity, and I don't know. It doesn't work. It doesn't jive with me, so I think I definitely fix that. This is all good, so you're all good with that. Okay, Izzy, we have moments of brilliance and moments of losing focus here. Hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you know where you need to go. Some nitpicky things you need to take care of. Some embedded quote things that we need to take care of. But really making sure that thesis is strong and is really highlighted in the analytically in the body is what we're looking for. So good luck. Maybe we'll see a rewrite out of you.